You got it. Howdy, folks. It is Sako to me, and also the moon,
I am also here.
and we are Sako and the moon,
Collectively.
and collectively, and we are reviewing Disturbing Behavior 1988.
1998.
98.
Big
98.
difference. This movie would
I was
not
in high
work.
school. I was in high school when this movie came out,
I
and
started high school in 98.
I mm,
Yeah,
we were the target audience.
we were. And this is 1998's horror. This is post Scream horror in the late 90s. We've said on this channel before, horror early 90s versus horror late 90s is a wholly different beast. And uh, Scream did that basically. I mean, if you want to attribute who's responsible for like meta horror, you can give credit to New Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But Scream did it better. And Scream is talked about a lot, not just because it's one of my favorite horrors, but because it is. Yeah, let's not do that. But it was one of those benchmarks that changed what we look for in horror in that late 90s period. That's when you get Disturbing Behavior. That's when you get I Know What You Did Last Summer. You get Urban Legend and a slew of other movies that came out post 96. And like find any horror movie in 92 and compare it to Disturbing Behavior or I Know What You Did Last Summer stylistically. Good or bad is going to be a matter of opinion, but stylistically, they are totally different. I should really start looking at a bunch of early 90s horror just so we can actively discuss the comparison.
Oh, great.
That'd be interesting for me to do. But of course, we're not here for that. We're here for the review of Disturbing Behavior. If you're new here, we have a 4-star system, 4-star. And those 4 stars are based on theme, production, writing, and characterization. And she's trying to catch up. I say it faster than she can click it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that by the time I say 4 stars, she's like, "Oh, he's about to do the thing." And
no, that I was, but I had trouble finding
it's a complicated.
the thing.
It's the menu. If you ever use StreamYard, it's the menu. It's not a complicated menu, but if you have to be like, all right, I go here, okay, here, and then here, and then here, and then here. Like, can you? Yeah. Is it hard? No, but it's like, anyway, it's fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into theme, and I will throw this like I usually do. What do you feel like the message of this movie was? Besides, don't be Cook's Rich trash. Jojo's gonna throw it in there somewhere. I had no better place to put it.
Something toxic shock syndrome.
Maybe. If you missed it, this is the movie recommendation off of our mind control versus mind reading episode, which you can go back and watch because it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
And this movie is about mind control. I'll get into more details about what the movie was about in the writing section, but the gist of this movie is a bunch of kids in this small arbor town. They're being mind controlled. Their parents. I don't think the parents are really in on what's really happening, but basically you have a mad scientist. So considering that, this is technically a sci-fi movie, sci-fi horror.
It is sci-fi horror.
This is technically sci-fi horror. This is in the same category to me as Event Horizon. Stylistically, very different.
Cosmic?
No, I mean it's still sci-fi because it has to do with
But
See,
the
that's
subgenres are wildly different.
I wasn't discussing that specifically because it all varies from there. This is the only way you compare uh, Event Horizon
Event
and disturbing
Horizon and
behavior.
Disturbing
It
Behavior.
doesn't otherwise compare, but it is
Cowboys
sci-fi.
and Aliens. Yeah.
I never saw Cowboys and Aliens. I
It
kind of
was
wanted
better
to.
than it had any right to be.
I might have to put that on my personal review list. Maybe I'll review that and put it on my website. Who knows? But
Or a
otherwise,
Thursday Blue Sky Watch.
you know what? I could do a thing. I could do that. Find the show on Blue Sky. It's Sako and the Moon podcast. Find us on there, and we. Well, I can't remember if it's Sako and the Moon podcast or if it's SATM podcast.
I think it's SATM podcast.
Might be SATM podcast. Look up both, and you'll see Edgar. Edgar will be on there. That's the name of our little creature. With
That's
the sword
our guy in the lower.
Yeah, the guy with the little dagger in his head. That's Edgar.
Yeah, lower right-hand corner. That's our guy.
We might have to do a Thursday night movie review. I haven't done those. Movie commentary. Thank you, Amanda.
Movie commentary.
I haven't done one of those in a while because I still need to do the birdcage. Anyway, we digressed away from this movie way too much. Theme, mood. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts on this movie?
There were so many problematic, connections, and the way the romance was cultivated was a little date rapey. And
wait, which romance?
The Stevie Boy and Ray.
Steve and Rachel?
Yeah.
You think really? How so?
Whoever wrote that did not know how to write a romance.
Well, okay. So we have to remember we're framing this in 1998. What was the standard of things in 1998?
Date rape was part of the job description.
It was. It's what things looked like. It's how it's not excused, but it wasn't viewed as bad. And honestly, I don't really see their romance as date rapey. And maybe I'm coming from a place of ignorance because to me, those two, it almost didn't even feel like a romance. They were kind of stuck.
That's my point. That's exactly my point. Is the romance wasn't there, and then she was. So hold up. Yeah, spoilers if you haven't seen this movie, and you should.
This movie came out in 1998. You are way too late for us to be worried about you being spoiled.
Yeah.
You can pause this here, go on Tubi and watch it and catch us back in an hour and a half. But it's been 1998. You should have seen it by now.
It's an hour and 15 minutes, so it's
close enough.
You know.
So go ahead, go with your explanation. I'd love to hear this.
She was drugged, or it was just after she was treated for being a blue ribbon.
Yeah.
They were trying to brainwash her, and he wobbles her out.
Well, she wasn't getting out on her own, yeah.
And then she's fine.
Right.
I think she still has the brain fog because I am who I am, and I've been drugged before. And
so it's less a drug and more of a procedure, which doesn't ultimately change how your perception of that, but it's not something that necessarily needs to wear off as much as she needs to recover from it.
Mm-hmm.
And if she catches him before the procedure took place, which she did because she wasn't a blue ribbon. So this is in the last part of the movie. Things have happened. You'll hear about those things later. Things have happened and they are caught. Steve and Ray, our male protagonist and our female protagonist, sort of, are captured and they're trying to do the procedure on them. Steve breaks out and he goes to rescue Rachel. Rachel is slightly further into the process, it seems, but nothing, no irreparable damage. I kind of get where you're coming from if these weren't things that were established throughout the course of the entire movie.
I guess.
I feel like if Steve grabbed her while she was like groggy and was like, "Come on, baby, let's go. I have to save your life." Like that would be weird and out of place. That wouldn't have.
He kissed her. He kissed her while she was still like.
I wasn't paying that much attention to it. I've already seen it, so I'll have to go back and look at that. Timing may have been wrong, but again, also things well placed throughout the course of the movie. So it wasn't so much that he just like all of a sudden he liked her, therefore he kissed her. These were things there. It was kind of like and I'm not trying to like explain away date rape because that's not how.
No, like.
Well, no, for the sake of the audience, because if you haven't seen the movie, because it's old and maybe one of those obscure movies that you just didn't catch, he didn't like go after her. It's a romance.
Not like Chug. Chug was a little too pushy and a little too aggressive.
And again, they don't know who Chug is yet, so let's hold on. Okay. I don't want to get too deep into those things because again, you kind of have to get context for that, any of that to make sense.
Yeah. All right.
But since you mentioned Chug, there is a clear comparison on what is favorable behavior and clearly not favorable behavior. And of course, I would say that if you're going to do something in your art that is clearly, bad, make sure it looks bad and it's done by bad people. Do not glorify bad behavior in your art.
Yeah.
I know people want to be edgy sometimes and the bad guy wins and now that's great, but do not glorify this. Just trust me on this one. This has everything to do with your reputation. Doesn't faze me in the least, but for your sake, and you will thank me later, do not glorify the bad behavior. If there's a redemption arc, sure, do it clean, do it well, but otherwise do not justify or glorify bad behavior. And I don't think that disturbing behavior does that. Steve he's attracted to Rachel. It's played by Katie Holmes, like late 90s Katie Holmes.
He has the hots for her, but she never shows that she has the hots for him.
She does in a late 90s I'm too cool for that kind of way. She does the subtle thing where she's not being like, oh my God, he's so hot, because that's not her personality. That's not what she does. We have to remember that in this movie, she is part of that outsider class. She was
a girl, the GRRL girl.
I'm not even sure if we're at that phase. It's the grunge chick who she can't let herself be viewed as weakened by liking a boy. Like boys are stupid, girls are stupid, people are stupid, the world is sad. Like that's kind of her. Like has a personality where nothing phases her. She can't let anything phase her. Like everything phases her, but she can't show it. Right?
If you say so.
I do. I mean, I knew girls like that back in 98. So, and that was their thing. They were just like, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Your hair's on fire. I don't care anymore. Who needs hair anyway? Hair is stupid. It's controlled by men. Like what? Wait, what? I knew those girls. Whoa. Shout out to Iroquois High School. The grunge scene at a ghetto high school is amazing. I just we're just gonna.
Yeah, I went to a ghetto high school, and
It's
our
an
grunge
amazing thing.
scene was, our goth scene was even smaller,
Oh, it
but
wasn't even small. It was. It was. This is a different show. It's a different show. Anyway, back to the movie. I can see where you're coming from. I'll say that. I'll see where you're coming from, but I will counter it with what the expectations were of that group, of that like clique in that like little subsection of students, and it just wasn't what. Especially Steve wasn't one of them. He was
right.
a new kid, and so you can't just attach yourself to the uh, awkwardly attractive new kid. But there were signs, like there was a couple little look backs and look up and downs. There's a couple of those little subtle tricks, hair fixes, things like that. And they were bonding over common trauma, right? Once they lose their buddy, hold on, I gotta look at my list of names. Gavin. Once
Gavin.
they lost Gavin, they realized how real it was. Like this situation was getting really, really bad when Gavin was lost to the Blue Ribbons, and that's when they're like, all right, we gotta fucking move. Like this something's gotta happen. We have to do something. And so I
Right.
think it was like when there's the guy you kind of like and now you have to work with him closely, it's like, all right, I can let my guard down a little bit with him because I'm focusing on this other thing. And he's like my opportunity to not so much impress her, but like I'm with her anyway. So like, all right, cool, let's be cool together. And again, this is very 98. This is very 98. So I don't particularly see that issue, but I can accept if someone else does. Again,
Hmm.
it's one of those things where I don't necessarily agree. I see it differently, but I also come from a different life experience. So with that in mind, I fall back to my potential ignorance without so much changing my mind. Right? I can acknowledge that I could be not seeing what's obvious to some, and accept that.
Hmm.
You got some
Uh,
you got some trivia for us?
I do. I do. So in the movie, the janitor has a copy of the Slaughterhouse Five.
Slaughterhouse Five, yeah. Kurt Vonnegut.
Ironically, ironically, Vonnegut has famously noted in real life that his novel was burned by a janitor through an order from an overbearing school board over its unwholesomeness.
I've never read Slaughterhouse Five. I did make note of that so that I could go back and try to read it because I'm very curious.
Yeah, me too.
I feel
Me
like
too.
Slaughterhouse Five is one of those stories, one of those books that's put on the same category as 1984, Fahrenheit 451, and Animal Farm.
Hmm.
And I feel like Slaughterhouse Five is one of those books. Which, by the way, I've read two of those, and I've watched The Hunt. So I feel like I've already read Animal Farm. Funny
Yep.
enough, they got a new version of Animal Farm coming out, like computer generated, like a 3D animation computer generated with animals. Uh,
Yeah.
that's coming out soon. I'm kind of wanting to read Animal Farm and then go back and watch that movie when it comes out. I'm a little curious, but 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. I'll just say, in 2026 in the United States, these are really good books that you should read.
They're
That is,
also all banned.
you can find them because I can find them. If
You
I can
can
find them,
find them. Oh yeah, you can find them, but they're not covered in school anymore.
which is a shame. So I encourage you all to, one, buy physical copies. Audiobooks are
Hmm.
great. And if you listen to the audiobooks, that's fine. I listen to the audiobooks just fine. Um, own them, own copies of them. And if you have teenage children who like to read, I would strongly suggest handing these books over to your children physically to read. Um, keep physical copies of those books. That's what I'll say. Those are definitely books you want to acquire and hold on to. Um, the world around you today will make a lot more sense. It'll make you a little sad. Um, but we're not reviewing those books. What else you got?
In some markets, the film lasted only a week in the theater.
I can see that because it came out in the same time frame as Urban Legend and I Know What You
Star
Did Last Summer.
Wars Episode 1.
Right. I was just talking about how the impact in horror. Like we're in 98. 98 is Scream sequel time frame, right? I think
Something
Scream
like
2
that.
I think Scream 2 came out in 98. And so this ain't that. I love this movie. Not quite in the same way that I like Velocipaster, but
not in the same way.
No, but I love this movie. And it's one of those movies that I really, really enjoyed then. And I enjoyed it watching it again for this review.
I had to fight my way through it.
And I can see, I get it. I do get it. But
I saw it in the theater when it was doing its thing. And we were in love with the soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack is dope. We'll talk about that in production. The soundtrack was dope.
Yeah. Do we give it a star for the theme? I don't.
I don't really know what the theme is. Because
robot children, high school cliques.
Right, but that's not really a theme. I mean, it's
is it not?
I mean, to me, no. I mean, it's like moody. The mood is kind of like late 90s grudge kid forced to go to prep school and what the rebellion looks like. The movie is kind of about teen rebellion. There is a manifestation of the establishment, if you will. There's the order, the right way of doing things, and I'm getting tangled up in my cord here. There's like the right way of doing things, and you have this group of Gavin, Steve, Rachel, and UV, great character, and UV, who are literally fighting against the establishment to allow kids to be who they are, as opposed to who the world wants them to be. And if you're showing the movie with that in mind, and you're showing the manifestation of fighting the establishment, I think it did its job. And if that's the case, then I give it a star, absolutely.
I suppose it did the job it was meant to do. So I will give it a star as well.
All right. 1 star for disturbing behavior. And now we can move on to production. And I'll jump in like this. Most of everything is pretty late 90s.
Yeah.
Production wise. So let's just talk about the soundtrack.
Kudos to the sound guys.
If you want to know what the late 90s sounded like.
Yep.
This is it. I'm gonna see if I can actually look up the songs on the soundtrack. Disturbing behavior.
We blasted that soundtrack, tearing down like what used to be rural Virginia, and screaming at the tops of our lungs.
Like, the song that really got me from that soundtrack, that like really is "Got You Where I Want You" by the Flies. I'm looking it up. Yeah, that cool. And I think we see that song when we meet Rachel. So basically, Steve's new. I'll get into details in the next section. Steve's new. He meets Gavin and UV, and then they meet Gavin's friend Rachel. And so it's the introduction of the pretty girl. And so it's kind of slow-mo, and then you got You Where I Want You playing, which may not seem like a really romantic song in 2026. But in 1998, to have a girl walk the hall slow-mo to Got You Where I Want You, you're going to instantly fall in love with her. The song will make you fall in love with her.
Oh, if you say so.
I do. It's one of those songs that it's 90s alternative rock, and it was great.
It was.
Let's see. We have
a little bit of industrial too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. That played a lot. So
yeah.
we have Every Little Thing Counts, Janice Stark, Got You Where I Want You by the Flies, Hole in My Soul by Hut, not Aerosmith, Monster Side by Addict, Hello by Once Upon a Time, Blown by FOS, Million Rappers by Funk Junkies, Sometimes by Driver. And I feel like if you just look up the Disturbing Behavior soundtrack and like you're like, what
Like
the
on
hell?
YouTube, like you'll get the whole album in
It's
one
like
video.
it's like what song, like what songs are these? You might be able to say Got You Where I Want You and figure that one out. I'm not singing it. I'm not doing it. But once you hear some of these songs, you're like, okay. Drive Time Radio by Eva Trout, Ever She Flows by Treble Charger, Psycho Clogs by Jack Drag, and Hail Mary by Scold. And then another one that I know everyone's gonna know, Flagpole Sitta.
Mm-hmm.
That's the song. That's the song that really stands out for me. I think that was one of the trailers.
Yeah.
That song fit this movie by Harvey Danger. That one fit this movie so perfectly. The music is perfect. It highlights the angst of the children, the era of the time. You have a reference to Another Brick in the Wall, Pink Floyd. It all that fits. There's a scene near the end where the janitor comes out and goes, "Teacher, leave those kids alone." And yes, I know it's "Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone." And he does say it, but I just didn't feel like yelling "Hey" at you guys. So you're welcome. So yeah, there's a lot of music references. This was a perfect soundtrack for a movie. Everything else was pretty Hollywood standard for 1998.
For what it was.
Yeah. I like the effect with the eyes. There's an effect when
as a photographer, I was like, psh, whatever.
What, the effect on the eyes?
Yeah.
Well, it did its job. It wasn't supposed to be like some glamorous thing. It was just supposed to highlight, oh, something's going wrong. So it does like a little red. So one of the side effects of this implant that they're getting is that it's hilarious. Is when the kids get horny, they get violent. And when that happens, they get all turned on, the little eyeball goes red, and then they flip the fuck out.
They lose control. Yeah.
Chug, who's one of the Blue Ribbons, he gets turned on seeing Rachel through a window, and then he's in the grocery store, and some kid bumps into him, which otherwise wouldn't be a big deal, but he just fucking snaps on these kids and just like literally launches them across the store. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a terrible message, but I get it.
It's a terrible message,
but again, it's highlighted. But here we are. But again, as I mentioned earlier, do not glorify bad behavior, and they don't. The antagonists do this. We see this as a bad. It is viewed and shown as a negative. These are not things that are like glorified. It's not like, oh, it's perfectly okay to do this. The bad guys do this. Someone dies. The first time it happens in the beginning of the movie. This is actually kind of more of a writing thing. So I'll just mention this one and then we'll get into the rest of the stuff. But at the beginning of the movie, he's sitting in the car. One of the blue ribbons is sitting in the car with a girl, and she wants it. He's kind of like, I gotta save my fluids for football, because that was a thing that they said a lot back in the late 90s. It's like, don't have sex or don't masturbate or anything like that before a game, because you need to save your fluids and your testosterone for competition. I'm like, that's okay. Well,
Yep.
I didn't play football, so I don't know. Whatever. But that was a common thing. So to have that reference is not weird. But she's like really eager to enjoy him. We'll say that. And so in that process, he gets really turned on and he snaps her neck.
Yep.
And Gavin witnesses this from afar because they're parked. And the cops come and blow the whole thing under the bridge.
Under the carpet. Yeah.
Yeah. They brush under the rug because he's a blue ribbon and they're all in the league. So.
Yep.
Was there any other production notes? Because otherwise, I think everything was on point. It was made in the late 90s and it reflected the late 90s. So I don't think it was hard to get. Yeah, it was modern time.
Makeup and props, I think, deserves a moment or two in that.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
The smushed rats that the janitor kept whipping out.
Rats from the bay.
Rats everywhere.
Rats from the bay.
And I was a little. I think there are aspects of the story that confuse me a little bit, which we'll get into
with writing.
With writing. The blood was corn syrup.
Like I said, late 90s Hollywood standard.
And the props were utilized, but the quality wasn't very high.
What do you mean? What props are you referring to?
Like the rats, like the teenagers interacting with each other in that nope, backtracking. This is what happens when I don't take notes.
So when I look at the props, I'm thinking this is a late 90s movie made in the late 90s using late 90s stuff. So most of it,
I felt it was very theater, like high school theater sort of props.
I mean, that's kind of Hollywood standard for the late 90s. I mean, we didn't have a lot. And mind you, this is not made to be Scream, right? This was not this movie. It wasn't Independence Day.
No.
This was a horror movie to fill in the gaps of the
between like Father's Day and Memorial Day.
Not even that. It's like it's following the post Scream wave, right? So we have Scream, and you have that initial wave of Scream, right? The Scream is this barometer in the 90s as far as 90s horror is concerned. And most of the horror that comes after that, whether it's from cover design to general aesthetic, you have, again, Scream, Scream 2, I Know What You Did Last Summer, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, you have Disturbing Behavior, you have like Valentine, and if I go through what would be my VHS collection, I can tell you there was a whole bunch of movies that came out and they all kind of looked the same because
Right.
they were trying to ride the popularity that Scream had, and then Scream
Mhm.
did a sequel, which particularly at the time, most people held Scream 2 to be a superior movie than Scream. That's a conversation for a different day. Um, but the popularity, that wave that you had, even non-horror movies like The Skulls, which is, side note, not a horror movie, but a fantastic movie that if you go back and watch that, you should go back and watch the Skulls.
Mm.
Um, and but the Skulls is a good example because all the movies in the late 90s, from like 96 up through maybe 2000, 2001, all kind of have this same general aesthetic, disturbing behavior included. So it's a studio trying to ride this wave.
Mhm.
So they're not going to put a lot of money into it because they need a profit off of it. And they know that they're just going to be copycat films. So they're not planning on making a lot, so they can't spend a lot, if that makes sense. But I think they use a lot of just stuff that was there at the time and it fit well enough. Like, how real do the rats need to be when they're just sitting in the guy's
No,
bag?
they don't gotta be real,
Well, real,
but
like how realistic, I guess I should be clarifying saying.
yeah, I maybe not made out of felt.
Rats from the Bay.
Rats from the Bay. All right. So,
Felt from Joanne's. I don't know what that is. So how do you feel about how Star in production? Because I was going to give it a
for
star off the
its
soundtrack all by
time,
itself
for its time, and I can't deny the soundtrack.
because it's such an
Uh,
important part of sound design. It had to feel
and
like that time frame.
I'm gonna say okay.
And I give it a star too because again, the soundtrack in particular, if anything confuses you about who the good guys were,
Mm.
right? Uh, the good guys were the kids in the movie who would listen to the music you're hearing. To me, um, I just think that was a great way. And your whatever money you didn't make on the movie, you sure the fuck made it off the soundtrack. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Um, to the writing finally.
Hold on. There's a comment that actually is pretty funny. I just want to share that because Hobby Lobby is doing some bullshit right now. So,
Uh, 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 uh.
I mean, this would qualify as a cult, in my opinion. Sort of. You know what? That's an interesting debate. Would you consider this a cult? Because the kids aren't behaving this way voluntarily. They're not being convinced to be this way.
They're being
Um,
brainwashed.
they're being controlled, right?
Yeah.
So, would that count as cult, or would it be a
It's a
cult with an
scientific cult. It's a scientific cult. Yeah.
That sounds good enough to me. I won't argue. All right, we are in the writing section. This is where I normally give a quick rundown. I can break this one down pretty quickly. So basically, you have Steve, a teenager from Chicago, moving to Cradle Bay with his mom, dad, and little sister. They recently lost his brother. They had a third child. They recently lost that child to, I think, drugs or some self-inflicted wound. So they moved to Cradle Bay for a new life. Upon going to high school, Steve meets Gavin, who has an albino friend named UV. Hilarious. I'm going to basically spend the entire characterization talking about UV because I love UV. And I feel like he has a very important role in this movie, even though he doesn't play a prominent part.
He's the
But
Mercutio of the
that's a
story.
very good way of referring to that. But Steve meets Gavin, who has UV and a friend Rachel. So that's our main pro tag group. And then we have other members of the Blue Ribbons, which is the elite um,
Class or
varsity
clique.
clique. Yeah, the big varsity clique in the school. And Gavin is under the impression that something is happening to these people. Something's not right with these kids. And Steve, having just met him, is kind of like, well, maybe they just kind of give up on the shit you're doing. And Gavin's like, nah, man, you don't get it. And he shows him a picture of him hanging out with two of those blue ribbons. It's like, this is us, wild, smoked out, and partying. And now they're doing bake sales with their varsity jackets. It's like something's up. And we introduced early to this one kid named Dickie, who's a motorhead. He's a car junkie. He works on cars. And later on, he's one of the blue ribbons. So they're like, all right, now we know some shit is up. Because this guy clearly didn't like these motherfuckers. And now his personality is way changed. He's the first person where we see the character change between their normal self and being a blue ribbon. Story. And eventually we realize that there is something going on. Gavin gets converted. And that kind of springs Steve and Rachel into action. There's some interactions between the blue ribbons as they realize, oh, these people are trying to actively stop us. We have to fuck them up. It gets to the point where they're captured. They try to brain control Steve and Rach. Steve and Rach break out and eventually defeat the blue ribbons and the psychologist who's responsible for the experiment in the first place, Dr. Caldecott.
Caldecott, yeah.
Dr. Caldecott is the psychologist who is doing these experiments, and Caldecott is eventually defeated by Steve and Rach with help from UV.
By Steve.
Primarily Steve, because he's our hero.
Because he's our hero. Green screen was pretty bad.
I mean, that would have been
of him falling. That was a production thing that I missed. Yeah, was him falling onto the rocks. Like,
yeah, but 98 green screen was not good anyway.
No, it was not.
Remember, for the time, it was great, and by great, I mean good enough. We can't judge 98 graphics and computer because anything computer, like you want proof of this? You want proof of what I'm talking about? If you don't think I'm right, grab this microphone. If you don't believe me about how 98 movies are, watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie from like 96. Watch that. The computer graphics in that movie are horrible.
That is because the content was slashed from the 80s.
No. I'm not talking about the TV show. They did the blending of stuff from the TV show. For the movie was a full live production of the time.
Oh
yeah. The movie was different. The movie was that's why they got new suits. The command center looked different. Everything was different for the movie. But if you go back and watch Power Rangers the movie, you can see what that Megazord looked like. It's terrible. Great for the time. Great for 96. Absolutely horrendous when you look back at it. I digress. That's what the story is about. So we talk about dialogue, plot, pacing. You had a conversation with me about some of the language, the hip terms used in this movie. Let's talk about that. If that's racist with you.
Thanks for taking that one from me.
No, I'm leading you. I'm leading in with that one. I'm leading you. I'm leading you. I'm letting you lead with that. Go for it.
Okay. There is this scene where they are introducing Ray, and
That's Rachel. Rachel Ray.
Rachel.
Not Rachel Way. Not Rachel Ray. But Rachel, sometimes called Ray.
Yeah.
Rachel Ray is not cooking in this movie.
No.
Hilarious if she was.
But so while they are introducing her, one of the first things out of her mouth is she is invited to join them for beer and hangouts and things. And so Gavin is kind of trying to fix up Steve and Ray a little bit.
Kind of, yeah.
And she says, sounds razor.
Sounds razor. Like that's supposed to be in this little town, that's their way of saying that's cool. Or saying something in agreement. Like, all right, like, hey, we're gonna go down to the yogurt shoppy or whatever. And do you want to ride? And they're like, instead of saying, yeah, that's cool, or saying, yeah, I'm down, or whatever other cool slangy term. they
chose
razor.
Razor.
Instead of sounds cool, sounds great, sounds lit, sounds legit, whatever, they chose razor. And like I told Sako, I'm like, I think the goal was to get kids to say it. If you got
and they failed it. They failed at that miserably.
They tried to make fetch happen, and fetch wasn't happening.
Nope.
But they wanted fetch to happen so bad. And I feel like it's almost the same thing as fetch, because I don't think anyone actually ever said fetch either. But it would be telling someone not to try to make fetch happen that would in real life make fetch happen. So I think they were trying to use razor as that unique to this movie thing that kids could go off and start saying inadvertently and indirectly advertising the movie. It's kind of like, what's the stitch? Right? No one really said that. They didn't. I don't know if you give credit to Buffy the Vampire Slayer or to Kim Possible. I'm not sure which one you give credit to for that one.
Yeah, but they both said it.
They both said it. And I don't know if one said it because of the other. I can't remember which one came first. But when people would say it, that's what would happen. Stitch became Stitch, which is really, it doesn't really work in my brain. If you write out situation, the first part is Stitch. Kind of. So people are saying it as if you were abbreviating the word as it's written. But you really should be abbreviating it based on the way the word is pronounced and said. If you're going to cut it verbally, then you should be cutting the verb, like the way the word is said. And they were really abbreviating the way the word is written, which looks like you're abbreviating it in writing, which doesn't make sense to me, but somehow that fucking catched. That's what caught, right? It catched to the net of the brain. See how one worked, what I said, and one didn't? Catched and caught should be like the same, but it's not. One is clearly wrong, and one's clearly.
I think like the first movie was when it was first said.
Did they say it in the first Buffy movie, or did they say it in the TV show?
They said it in both.
I know. I can picture Sarah Michelle Gellar saying it, but I can't picture movie Buffy saying it. Although I've only seen that movie like twice.
I watched it ad nauseum, and mostly for the scene at the end with Peter Rubin,
Paul Rubin.
Thank you. Pee Wee Herman. Yeah. So good.
Buffy is so good. Like the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so good. So good.
Ho-
It's so good in
However,
a 90s kind of way.
in a 90s kind of way.
Like in the 90s kind of world where you got your girls, it's a great movie.
It's a
Um,
great movie.
Shout out to Living Singles.
So fuck that dialogue.
She didn't like, and I get it, but of course that's the weird shit we didn't say that, but we said weird shit in the 90s.
The third act, getting back to the writing, the third act I felt like was rushed
I can see that.
because they were expecting more time. They were trying to tell the story like there was more time between events.
Yeah, I feel like they rushed the timeline. I can see that because I feel like that last bit should have probably taken 2 days, but they made it feel like it all kind of happened within a few hours.
Not even that. It was an hour and 15 minutes to talk about a week, a month. I don't know how long that was.
I've The timeline is off a little bit. I think you were supposed to just accept the fact that this is all happening in sequence and that time is passing and the time that's passing is inconsequential. Because it's not like this takes effect in 3 days or it takes 3 days to do XYZ or after a week this happens. Like time is kind of just an illusion. But when you have events taking place, it has to have. There
So
should
the
be some sort of
pacing
chronology.
was rushed
I would agree with you on that.
because, and that was the director's cut that was, an hour and 15 minutes.
I mean, this is disturbing behavior. It's not Citizen Kane.
No.
I've never seen Citizen Kane, but but how do you feel about the overall plot?
I actually like the overall plot. The not robot children, but brainwashed with red eye
Stepford kids kind of thing.
Stepford kids, yeah.
Excuse me.
Timeline was very much things happened when does not matter. Yeah.
It's just kind of like, meh. Things happened.
Things happened, and also it doesn't matter 2 minutes later.
Yeah, because if you go back to like Dickie's transformation,
that's why my date rapey rescue there seemed date rapey because the pacing was all janky.
Right. I will say Rachel recovered way too quickly. From how groggy she was, she recovered almost instantly. But if we go back to Dickie's transformation, it almost feels like Dickie transformed the next day, maybe the day after. So maybe 2 days tops takes place from when Dickie gets into a fight with one of the blue ribbons, and I forget which one it was. Let me see if I wrote it down. Trent. He got into a fight with Trent. So Dickie gets into a fight with Trent, and then it's almost like 2 days later, Dickie is one of them. So like how
in the booth in the yogurt shoppy. Yeah.
Yogurt shoppy makes me laugh so much because it's a reference that Gavin. I knew so many Gavins, so many kids like Gavin.
I dated a lot of those guys.
It's still a lot about you, Sako.
Yeah.
Good or bad, I'm not 100% sure. but it says a lot. But the thing about Gavin, I knew a girl like Gavin. Her name is Brittany. Not any of the Brittany's that are currently in my life. There's a lot of them, but a different Brittany because I've known a lot of Brittany's. And Brittany would be the kind of person to look at a shop, like a yogurt shop, and it would say SHOPPE. And it's like, why does it say shoppy? Like, what's a shoppy? What's the difference between a shop and a shoppy? And then like just go into like a whole diatribe about shoppies.
The funny thing is I probably could have explained it away, but I will not.
Yeah, I'll look it up eventually when I care enough. I do know why ye old shoppy is ye instead of the. Actually, I know the answer to that one. It has to do with the old letter thorn. Hey, there's an education you get out of this video. It has to do with the old letter thorn, which was like a line with like a hump on one, like it's sort of like the middle of the line.
It's like a fancy D or a music note.
If you took a B and a P, like a lowercase b and a lowercase p, and you put the circles together, it looks like that. And so that was a thorn, and the thorn makes the sound, the th sound. So it's thorn.
But it's a German letter, so riddle me that.
Well, it was in Old English. They use it in Old English. English is Germanic.
They use it in German too.
Well, yeah, they still use it, but they use it in Old English. And English is a Germanic language. That's a different show. Yeah. But actually, you can go on Rob Words, which is another channel on YouTube that we're not affiliated with. But you can go watch Rob Words. He has a whole video on stuff like that, missing letters and thorns. But it's a TH sound, the thorn of the TH sound. So when it was written, it was spelled thorn E, which would be the or the. And as it was being transcribed over time, this sort of thing would be either misprinted when they were having to find letters to print, or lazily written to where it would look like a Y. And so then people would just kind of copy it because that's what they saw. And they would write ye with the YE as opposed to a proper thorn E. So we would say ye old, but no one said ye old. They would have said the old. Mm-hmm. Education.
Thanks.
Because nobody cared about that. So like if you know your friends stopped watching, go ahead and tell them I'm done so you can come back.
Okay.
But plot-wise,
I thought it did fine. It wasn't hero's journey. Like
it was classic 90s horror.
Yeah.
Boy meets girl, boy's introduced to problem. We see the doesn't believe problem becomes obvious. Boy goes into action to solve problem, eventually saves girl, saves the day.
Yep. End of story.
Tried and true. Then the credits roll.
Yep.
The next thing you know, you magically have an IMDb page. Crazy. But no, like it was fine. I had no problem with the dialogue because I didn't go around in 1999 going around, yeah, that's Razor. I didn't do that. And it didn't do the thing, but it was unique to the movie. It was a thing that they said, which kind of fit the sort of alternative culture of the time, where you just kind of made up your own words and languages and you talked in a way that your friends understood. Thank you. A little rainbow and everything. Thank you, Amanda. But no, it fit. It fit the times. I'll give it a star. I love this movie.
Between the dialogue and the pacing's
a down point. I can definitely see that.
I can't give it a star for.
But that's a half star though. I'm happy. I can see where if you're going to lean on, like, I'll lean on the plot, which is pretty standard, but the story was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
So I leaned on
Yeah.
the
The
plot.
plot
But
the plot was great,
but if you're
but
leaning on the pacing and that really does kind of throw things off for you, I can absolutely see where you're coming from, and I can't argue with it. I can't defend the plot, the pacing.
yeah.
I can't defend the pacing.
And as a horror writer who likes to write flash and short stories and novelettes and stuff like that, um, pacing is super important.
It is, and I cannot discount how important pacing is in your writing because we do. This is education. Um,
Mm.
so when you write your story, if you have things taking place over the course of a week, like make it take place over the course of the week. We recently did the review for Lords of Salem,
Yeah.
and love it or hate that movie, their pacing was deliberate because they told you today is Monday. These are the events that took place on Monday. Then the day ends, and this is Tuesday. This is happening the next day. Events of the day. This is Wednesday. They are very deliberate on how long things are taking on and how far apart things are happening from each other. And things work pretty quickly. And then they organized it well enough to where all of that made sense. They were very deliberate in that pacing. This movie was not. It's kind of like they were just like, look, we just need events to happen. Go with it.
Yeah.
And so again, I cannot defend the pacing. So if you're holding that against them, I accept that completely.
And the dialogue.
I
I couldn't
excuse I excused
that was not the only phrase they tried to bring into the zeitgeist.
what I liked
Like
about the dialogue was Gavin, honestly, because
Most of
Gavin
it
was
came out of Gavin's mouth. Yeah.
Gavin was a like alternative pseudo like it was kind of like Gavin was from
Intellectual.
he was from new metal, the new metal age before new metal was new metal.
Yeah.
And it's like he wasn't listening to Linkin Park yet, but if you gave him a couple of years, he would be.
Yeah.
And Gavin was this very poetic speaking kind of kid. And again, I knew a lot of Gavins. I think actually one of them was actually named Gavin. No,
Mm.
it was Kevin that was spelled weird. Anyway, the point here is I knew kids like that. So I can relate to kids who spoke like Gavin. I loved the character of Gavin. So I excuse the dialogue. I looked the other way.
I commiserated with Katie Holmes.
Yeah. She hadn't even met Tom Cruise yet. Um
She hadn't. She hadn't.
uh,
I had been that manic pixie girl in the eyes of quite a few people. Yeah. Mm.
yeah.
Characterization. Hmm?
I want to talk about UV because to me UV is the most important one of the most important characters in the movie.
I would love to hear your reasoning.
So you have Steve and Lindsay, which are the brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
Normal kids. They look like normal kids. They act like normal kids. They're from Chicago. They're just normal kids. Steven is I would probably say he is placed there to be the attractive main male character.
Mm-hmm.
Gavin was there to be, he's like a kid
The
who's into it.
supporting
He's there to be the rock
buddy.
kid, the alternative kid, the kind of outsider guy. Rachel is the kind of attractive girl who doesn't give a fuck about being attractive. She gets it, but doesn't give a fuck because none of these guys are really on her level as far as she's concerned. She just ain't got the time for that bullshit.
Yep.
Teenage girl who's like, I don't have time for all this stupid rigmarole the kids are doing today. That was Rachel. Nothing ultimately wrong with these kids, and if they fit into any of these groups, you probably wouldn't be surprised, right? There's a scene where Gavin and UV are introducing Steve all the different cliques, which, by the way, UV has these cute little rhymes to go with all the clicks. Fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Also, why I love the dialogue because UV was great. But when you look at UV's albino, right? Stupid pale, and he wouldn't be the ideal person for such a group of perfect kids, right? So if you're establishing a cult of perfect kids, Steve's an option, Lindsay's an option, Gavin's an option, Rachel's an option. UV is not, because
Yep.
it is on the aesthetic of it. And UV would crash the aesthetic of this perfect looking group by late 90s standards. And again, clarifying that there's nothing wrong with albino people. It's just, excuse me, people with albinism. There's nothing wrong with people with albinism. It's just on the aesthetic, particularly in the late 90s, this wasn't the vibe for those perfect kids, the perfect group of kids. So
When was Powder? Like, that was
Powder is a whole different beast. We can't even talk Powder here. Because Powder is a whole,
1995.
yeah, Powder is a whole, if you've never seen Powder, probably one of the best Jeff Goldblum movies.
Yeah.
Powder. Not to be confused with Phenomenon. That was a John Travolta movie. Not to be confused with that. Wholly different movie. I digress. But UV is a character that is safe. So he is forced to witness and have to play a supporting role. In the end, if something would have happened to Steve and Rach, he'd be like the one left over in the end. He'd be the target, and they probably wouldn't convert him. He's the one that is playing sort of the litmus test of where we are in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's not the one at risk at being converted, you can really watch things happen through UV's point of view. And I love that. Powder is great. There's a comment that says Powder is great, and Powder was great.
Powder was great.
It was great when I watched it years and years, decades ago. Oh, I should have done
Decades ago.
I should have done
1995.
right, and I saw it around that time. I should have done the math.
Yeah.
I should go back and watch Powder and see how
it holds up.
Yeah, that'd be curious. That would be curious. But that's one of the reasons why I like that character of UV, because otherwise, how do you have a character that is objectively spared from this threat that's coming at all the kids there? Right? Because any of the other kids and any of the other cliques could have been converted. They wouldn't have bothered with the nerds, but they could have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they probably could have just offered them jackets and it'd been fine. They're like, you're already the smart kids getting the good grades. You know what? Just take a jacket. Like, you're one of us now. You want to go join the bake sale? I'm allergic to peanuts. Ah, fuck. All right. I mean, whatever. Cool.
I mean, whatever. It's cool.
Late 90s nerd jokes.
Yep.
They're all allergic to something.
Peanuts mostly.
Peanuts, grass, oxygen,
Yeah.
something. But how else are you going to create a character that's going to be safe from all that?
Mm-hmm.
And you have UV. And I don't remember if they ever showed his actual name or said his actual name, but they just always called him UV because he's albino, which I thought was clever.
It is clever. I forgot it was a Victor Salva project.
I'm unfamiliar with Victor Salva.
Me too.
I'm gonna look him up though. So you tell me what you think about the characterization.
We did not get to know his sister enough to care that she was a target.
Oh, that's Victor Salva. Oh, he did Powder also? Son of a bitch. Oh, that's what you're. That's the reference. Okay, got it. Got it. I thought you were saying that this was a. Okay. So Victor Salva is the director producer that was connected with Jeepers Creepers that
Oh.
had the case against him.
Oh.
He was the convicted child offender.
Oh.
And that's the reason why certain channels won't cover Jeepers Creepers, because of they don't want to promote the work of someone with such a charge. And so he did Jeepers Creepers, as people know, but he also did Powder, and that was the movie. That's what she was referring to. That Powder was a Victor Salva project. It was one of the projects he did outside of horror. I cared so little I didn't even know the guy's name, but I looked it up. So there's the reference there. So Disturbing Behavior was not a Silva film, but Powder is a Silva film.
Powder is.
So your thoughts on characterization? Your thoughts on the characters?
They were like paper children. Like,
in what way?
Cut out with dotted lines. Like,
stereotypical for the time?
Very much so.
Yeah. And I feel like that was probably intentional. Because particularly in 98, if a lot of the kids were like that, like you said, you had friends in your group that were like these kids. I was probably as close to Steve without being the attractive one. I was not the attractive one in my friend group. But when you have, I was probably the more like normal one or typical one in my friend group. I blend in with the other groups. And
me too.
If you were that kind of person, otherwise you probably weren't watching this movie anyway. That was the crowd that was watching horror movies like this at the time. And if you were in that group, you'd want to be identified. You'd want to see your identity on screen. You'd want to see these kids like you. That's why we have the soundtrack we have for those kids. So you'd want to see as basic of a representation of you as possible, so that you can make sure that the representation fits as many of those kids as possible. If that makes sense. So I think the idea of being stereotypical is kind of like having the Valley girl with her dad's credit card when you're watching movies like Clueless.
Yeah.
Right? Did every girl who watched Clueless was like Claire? No. But there were enough spoiled rich kids that the kids from Clueless somebody identified with. Those were very basic paper children, as you say. And I think that was for the sake of drawing the audience in.
Mm-hmm. POV was mostly from Stevie. His evolution was so rushed. And the extent of his evolution was that he got to act on his crush with Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. I don't really see much of an arc with Steve. I don't see a lot of change with Steve. Steve kind of walks in with that personality, and that's kind of what just pushes him through. Like he's that guy. Like he kind of walks in the hero,
Mm-hmm.
like the standout. I don't see much of a change for him.
There wasn't much of a change for him. I guess he was consistent.
His character was consistent, but it's like so okay. So his character didn't change, but I'd ask, does his character need to change? Were there changes that were needed in Steve's character? Or was
If
Steve's
they wanted it to be a little more interesting, then yes. But that wasn't what they were trying to do.
I don't think it was. I think they wanted Steve to be the barometer of what's not weird. Because the blue ribbons were weird, and you had like the alternative kids that were, weird. So you needed a character who was not weird. And I think that was the goal, that Steve was not weird. So then what do you do with the kids that you're trying to make not weird? You have the not weird kid go in, and he stays not weird. And I think so there wasn't a lot of, the story doesn't provide a lot of growth for Steve.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even get him really dealing with the trauma of losing his brother, even though that's a heavy point.
Even though they brought it up like 4 times.
Yeah, and I think that and now I'll say that's
Chekhov's gun that they never did anything about,
Yeah, it was sort of the background as to why they moved. Like, what are you doing here in this small little Cradle Bay town?
Well, it was why they moved, but the whole point was that he hadn't moved on from what happened with his brother.
Yeah.
And never mind his sister.
Yeah, he did try to spare his sister. There was a few times when his sister was involved, because like at the end, UB has his sister because he was trying to keep his sister safe. So he does do that.
Yeah.
But for example, I believe his brother shot himself. I think that was the story.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I can see where there would be an aversion to guns. Right?
Oh, okay.
But now, he doesn't seem to have one. When Gavin has the gun saying he's going to smoke his parents because they were trying to get him to join the Ribbons, Steve just takes the gun and walks off.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, not fazed by it at all. And there may have been a gun used later on in the movie. I can't remember or not. But if you had some sort of trauma response to the presence of a gun in the beginning, and then he later has to fight past that to save his sister, like the weapon that took his brother saved his sister. If you did that instead, it would make sense to bring up all the stuff with his brother, to me.
Huh. Okay.
That is where I fit in the Dwan fixes the movie part of our show. Because I find myself doing it like almost every show we do. It's like, yeah, this movie, yeah, but if you do this, and this, it all makes sense again. You're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So that's our third
maybe I'm being suggestible.
That's our third show where Moon fixes this. And that's not a real show. Don't wait for that.
Don't make that a thing, please.
Because I have enough. I have enough to do later. It's fine. I have enough shows. Do I have enough shows? No, I don't. No, apparently not. If you ask anybody else, I don't. But no, it's fine. We'll just do it here. Otherwise, yeah, there's very little character arc changes. Rachel, maybe. She's a little less standoffish.
Stoic.
But by the time that happens, the movie ends. So, I mean, at this point, you don't even see if they actually got together for real. Like there's no aftermath of
They made out twice.
they made out. That doesn't mean they got together.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I dated every girl I've kissed. Interpret that however you want. Point is,
Oh, point is, the people didn't change.
yeah, there's very little.
The bad guy was a group of people that kept growing and growing and growing.
It was Coldicott. Coldicott was the ultimate bad guy.
He was the heavy. Yeah.
He was the one doing the experiment. It was his experiment.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone else, so like Coldicott got defeated, but one remained.
The moon reads shit. Yeah.
That's a wholly different project. It's a different project.
No.
It's just me reading. It's literally just me reading shit. That's all. It's not a real project. People calm down.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so given the time and the purpose for each character, even though there were like 4 or 5 of those kids that were just there to make the group look bigger.
Yeah.
You know, like they weren't.
There's like main 4, total 10.
Yeah, exactly. And they drove around in the same car and catcalled his sister. And
it was the late 90s.
She was into it. So
it was the late 90s. This is the shit that we deemed as normal at the time.
Mm-hmm.
No catcalling people. It's tired. Don't do that.
It's so tired.
It is. It's just weird now.
I'm tired.
It was weird then. Don't do it anymore. But yeah, we're an hour 20 in. Do we have a star for this? I think what you're leaning to is no star on characterization.
No star. Yeah.
I loved UV as a character, but UV was the only character that I loved. And there wasn't a lot of character growth. There wasn't a lot of character change. You don't even get to see, well, no, they all fall off a cliff. So I guess no one's redeemed. They just die.
They just die. Yeah.
Which I can only imagine is a hell of a thing to explain the next day.
Indeed.
Like, what do you do the next day when it's like, all right, so Coldicott and all y'all kids, all you blue ribbon kids,
they're all disappeared.
They're all just dead. They're at the bottom of the ravine. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
I wish it was more public because then it would make a lot more. In the end, I can understand and agree. I think you agreed with me on a couple of stars. I'm going to agree with you on this one. No star for characterization.
No star for characterization.
UV was great, but he's not great enough to hold up the entire category.
Right. Precisely. So no star. So 2.5.
2.5 stars sounds like, yeah.
Okay.
I predicted this was going to be about 2 stars. The way we were talking about it earlier, 2 stars.
Yeah, 2 stars. Yeah.
So 2.5 is pretty good.
2.5.
2.5
still
out of
doesn't
4.
Out of 4 doesn't.
It's not bad. It's
not bad.
It's a B minus. It's probably a B minus. And again, I can't emphasize this, and I won't emphasize it as much as I always do. But watch the movie for yourself, because
it's on tubi.
As you can see, our opinions vary from each other. So it's the only way to really know whether to like lean one way or another is to watch the movie yourself. And we suggested you do that with all the movies that we review.
Yep.
Our opinions are solely ours, and they're just our general, mostly objective, sometimes subjective opinions. But we encourage you to go watch the movie yourself. It's free on Tubi. You should just go watch it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for joining us for Sako and the Moon movie review Thursday thing that we do. Even if we run over, we don't care.
What's a runtime, right?
Because of course it is.
That's
See us tomorrow.
That's the catch line of this channel. It's on Tubi because of course it is.
Because of course it is. So tomorrow is my birthday.
Tomorrow is Sako's birthday.
And
I need questions.
And Moon still needs questions.
I can make up questions to ask her, but I want to ask her the questions that you want to ask her. So anything about Sako you want her to ask or to answer, send it to me. Send it to me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can email me at dlhearnwrites@gmail.com. And then just like I'll ask her the questions. I do have some that were sent, and I'll ask you those. There'll be some really good conversation with. But tomorrow we're going to celebrate Sako's birthday. She turns like 26. So we're going to celebrate her 26th birthday.
I won't contest 26.
Because clearly I'm right.
I'll take it.
I'm obviously correct. I'm clearly right. I'm never wrong. We're celebrating Sako's 26th birthday tomorrow, and you guys feel free to share with all of Sako's peoples and have everybody watching it. And let's let everybody celebrate Sako's birthday with us. If you can't make it, you suck. But otherwise, I mean, I get it. It's the end of the year. Some people might be graduating from high school. I get it. If you have a graduation because you like your kids or whatever. Whatever. You should be here celebrating Sako's birthday. Email me with questions. Join us here tomorrow. And then she gets to reveal to me what her movie choice is for next week's review. She hasn't told me. She's already picked it out. But she hasn't told me yet. So I get to figure out what movie she picks for us to review. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
So join us here. This channel.
Join us here.
So subscribe to the channel now so that you can be here. It'll be 11 o'clock. Do the things. Do the things. And we're gone.